Playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So yesterday, 2 different articles came out, one from the Northeast Ohio Transit blog, one from ClevelandSignal.com, highlighting some of the stadium proposals and plans that Jimmy Haslam and his sports group presented to state lawmakers in Columbus last week. And a quick overview of said plans are a $2.5 billion Brook Park Dome. Renovating the current downtown lakefront location would cost about $1.2 billion. The Haslams want a 50-50 public-private cost-sharing split for both plans, which were presented to officials last week in Columbus.
That's funny.
If they do move to Brook Park, the next part would cost the public more. Any changes to public infrastructure would be publicly funded. That includes enlarged sewers, relocated utilities, redesigned roadways, and expanded public transport. There's no estimated cost for those upgrades yet, but that would fall under public funding. Before we get to the confidence meter on how we feel the end result will be for the Browns' new stadium in 2029, thoughts on the initial plan and what the Haslams are proposing?
I mean, we've already talked about it. None of us are experts on how much this hurt.
One thing I didn't mention real quick.
Yeah.
They actually put out a depiction of what the proposal in Brook Park would look like. And Steve, take that to a quote here. This is a drawing or a mock-up of what this could look like.
That's so sad because you had the Chicago release and it's this beautiful pictures, and this is just some pathetic looking picture.
I think
of a stadium.
I think that probably will come later.
I know, it's just so sad compared to There's the airport next door. They got to build this stadium into the ground.
We talked about that,
right? Because
of
it's so close to the airport. And by the way, the airport's in Cleveland, so the stadium's like 2 feet from Cleveland.
Yeah, basically.
Wouldn't that solve every problem if Cleveland incorporated Brook Park? I mean, wouldn't that end the problem?
Redistrict the land?
Yeah, let's go.
Why would Brook Park do that?
I don't know.
Rezone it or whatever.
Who knows? Well, Brook Park going to pay for all the infrastructure by themselves?
No, the county will.
Yeah, of course. Listen, we've all talked to death the fact about public money. We get it. It is what it is. It sucks. Why governments give money to billionaires, we have no idea. That's sadly the way of the world. But we've talked about this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's left to say about it. We keep talking about it, and what?
Well, now that the plan's proposed,
yeah,
or at least they've had discussions with state lawmakers on the plans. I asked you guys for the confidence meter.
Yes.
That the end result of whatever these discussions will end up with the Browns moving to Brook Park for a $2.5
All right, let's start with
billion
Tyvus.
dome. Tyvus, where'd you fall on the confidence meter that Brook Park will be the eventual home and or playing place, not home, of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, nothing in life is 100% except death and taxes, which is why I went with a 9. Because I just knew to myself that I think essentially that's what Jimmy wants anyways, is to move to Brook Park so he can build the land up, make money hand over fist like that. I think the players would love to have a dome. I think Deshaun, if he's still here, which some people on the panel think he may not be, not going to say any names.
That's not crazy to think he won't be.
Not going to say any names, but I think he wants to be in the dome. I mean, you want to have a warm element, and I think that Jimmy made a statement, I think, maybe a couple months ago where he was like, this is Cleveland. Cleveland deserves nice things. They need to look at themselves as the best of the best, and he want to help build that there. So when he said that, I knew they was all in on the dome from there on out. But like I said, nothing is 100% in life. So 9 out of 10.
And taxes are not a sure thing either. Death is the only sure thing.
Taxes is sure.
No, it's not. There's a lot of people that don't pay taxes.
They still got a bill, though.
But doesn't mean they're going to pay it.
I didn't say you had to pay it.
And not everybody gets a bill.
I'd like to meet those people.
Wesley Snipes.
See how they do it.
Hey, how does taxes work? So if you don't pay your taxes, you just go to jail for like 6 months?
I have no idea.
Because if that's the case,
I think you got to not pay your taxes for a long time.
if that's the case, I'd rather just sit in the cell for 6 months.
You rather sit in the cell?
And then, so you do the 6 months, and then you just
I have no idea.
Because if that's the
I'm
case,
not an
I
expert,
would
but I don't
go there
think you
for
want to
6
go to jail.
months. I would go to jail for 6 months to not pay my taxes.
All right. Go ahead,
When you
Jason.
get to my tax level.
Jason, 6 months in jail or pay your taxes?
Depending on what it is.
Depends on if my wife's mad at me or not.
Depends on the jail, too. What kind of jail? Like, I have my
Why
wife.
you talking
oh, I shouldn't
hard
say
time? Like, I'm not going to prison.
I know somebody. I know somebody that went to jail, and they were in one of those country club jails.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there was like, at least this is what I was told. I don't know that it's definitely true. That apparently there was not even a fence. In theory, I
don't believe that.
That's what I was told. That these are all, they were like white collar criminals, and they could have, in theory, just walked away. Now, again, I don't know if this is true or not. Like, I would go to that jail for 6 months, but I ain't going to no real jail for 6 months.
Yeah, not prison. I ain't saying prison.
I'm way too pretty to go to jail for 6 months. I can't be having that.
They'd love you in jail.
Forget it. What about Tyvus?
You can't run from them.
Tyvus.
They would love
Tyvus will beat them up.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I ain't going.
You ain't running away from me.
I'm not
catch
going.
you.
Oh, my God, Jay.
I don't do that
Tells
stuff.
about
I
it.
ain't going for it. I'm just telling you that right now. I ain't going for it.
You don't have to be fast. You just have to be faster than one guy. Oh, but think about what we're laughing about right now. Anyway, Jason, your confidence meter. Not in surviving prison, but in the Browns ending up in Brook Park.
We can't keep doing shows together, the three of us.
We definitely can and will. 100%.
Confidence meter I sent in, I told Mikey a 6.5.
Oh.
And I was probably high on that. It probably should be a 5. Because the funding piece, I've said it 100 times. If they get the funding, this is happening.
Yeah.
But Kansas City was loud and clear, and they said, no, you're not going to raise, it was the sales tax, and they shot it down by like 60%. It was like 58% no. Like, that's pretty strong. So, and I know the Browns are probably looking at that and trying to navigate how are we going to build, like, the public side of this. Where's the funding going to come from? I think there's a lot of people that look at Jimmy and don't like him for a variety of reasons.
Not very likable.
Who say, if you want it, you build it yourself. You just sold Pilot. You've got $11 billion, $12 billion. If you can afford the Milwaukee Bucks, you can afford this. And so I think this is a really big hurdle to overcome. I don't know if they're going to get there. If they get there, if they figure out the financing, this is going to happen. But that's a really big if right now.
Jason and I are kind of on the same page. I was thinking 5 also, and at the last second I went with a 6. So we're kind of on the same thing there. I said the same thing. I was like, wow, are they going to get the money? And then I thought about it. The billionaires almost always end up getting their way.
He gonna pay for it.
And I think in the end, he may say that if they don't pay half, he's not going to do it. I think they'll find a way to get half from the public. But even if they're short of half,
He'll still do it.
I think in the end he won't let that stand his way because the team being in Brook Park with the plans he has, hotels and this and all these things, he is going to make so much money on that. No matter what he invests initially.
He gets 100% of the proceeds, the profits.
Well, of the stuff, because like,
I mean, he doesn't have to pay taxes.
I mean, the stadium.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
The stadium would be a public component.
I'm talking about if he paid
but
it
the
himself.
rest would be
But
his.
the rest is his. The mixed use around it
Plus,
would all be his.
he gonna pay for it.
If they renovate the stadium on the lakefront, there's no Super Bowl.
No.
If they get a brand new dome stadium, I know it's not a guarantee because it's Cleveland. I bet you there's a chance they'll get a Super Bowl. If that's what it takes to get that, the league will give us one. And that would be huge. And he wants that.
Oh, sure.
Not to mention all the events you could have in that stadium that you can't have downtown the year round.
The only thing is, like, that land, and I don't think the sale's gone through yet. I don't think, but
I don't know.
if and when he buys that land, he could still do all that without the stadium.
True.
Yeah, but
I know.
It's not a main
What's the point
attraction.
of going there?
Yeah, it's not an attraction unless he building another mall or something.
people are not going there for the women's soccer team. No offense to the women's soccer team.
But you're only going there for the stadium on Sunday.
Right, but that's
Like, You know what I mean? Like, I still think
But
he
you still get.
But they'll get so much on those Sundays.
Oh,
that
for sure.
it'll be worth it.
Wait a
Plus,
minute.
plus, you'll have other events there, Jason.
So wait a minute. Let me. What are we talking? What is he putting out there? Are we talking like Legacy Village with a stadium, like that type of stuff?
Crocker Park.
We talking
Little nicer than
Crocker
Legacy
Park
Village.
with a stadium, or just
Yes.
another Crocker Park?
I think it's Crocker Park with the stadium. That's what I think.
Oh, people would go there.
And you'll have
That's what I'm
condos and
saying.
you'll have
But
hotels.
even if
there.
you don't have a stadium, like that area could still use something like that.
I mean,
Obviously, it's
Right.
better with the obviously it's better with
Because
the
it's
stadium.
not just the football Sundays. It's also concerts. It's also an NCAA tournament.
Yes,
All these other
it's-
things that you'll be
yes.
able to do there.
It's still less than 50 dates a year, probably. You know,
You think so?
Yeah.
If they have, all right, but still,
There's only so many monster truck
Listen,
shows.
let's
you can
say
get in.
let's say it's 40 days a year.
Yeah.
Those 40 days, you're making a
Oh
boatload
yeah,
of money.
Yeah.
heck, if he would have built it sooner or later, while Taylor Swift was dating Travis
Oh, my
Kelce,
gosh.
he could have had the stud
I was
concert
also
right there.
reading
He'd have had all his money back.
They're going to have they want part of the plan is to have like an indoor tunnel or bridge that goes straight from the airport to the stadium.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be cool. For
Yeah, you don't even have to go outside.
out
That'd
of
be,
town.
that'd
Yeah.
be nice.
It sounds very similar to Glendale,
Yeah.
and they put the stadium there first. Actually,
Right.
the stadium used to be out in the middle of nowhere. Were you ever out there when I don't? It's probably before your time.
No, it's
there was
not.
just the stadium and nothing around it.
Yeah.
and
now
then they built
it
up the whole area around it. And I don't know that they've really gotten. I need to look into that. I don't know if they've gotten the return on that. They
Well,
thought they were
but I
going
would
to.
say obviously there's a lot more money in LA.
No, Glendale,
Glendale's
Arizona.
there.
Oh, Arizona. Sorry, but I was gonna say like people like in Cleveland, you don't have to worry about traffic, so it's so much easier getting to things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At Brook Park, let's face it, it's pretty convenient for most people, unless you live on the far east side of the area by the lake. It's like 15, 20 minutes for most people in the area.
Yeah, it's near major highway interchanges. 480, 71.
Right.
It's all right there.
Yeah, it's it's a good
The
location.
red line extension, I assume that's an extension. That would be really helpful. That would
Yeah.
be that'd be great.
Right.
If you extend the red line there.
We'll see.
If there's an airport
And you said,
walkway.
where was you
Yeah.
at on the meter?
6.5.
And you six.
Six.
But I'm actually more like a 5.
Y'all sick.
I just don't. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
It
I
is
don't
a
know how-
lot of money.
I still think that the E-tabs is the way to go.
Yeah.
they don't listen.
I think there's ways to fund this without
marijuana and gambling.
weed and gambling. Yeah. That was hysterical when I first mentioned that in the comments. How much weed do I have to smoke to make this happen? I'm committed to
They said they'd do their part.
And by the way, one last thing on this. And you mentioned Kansas City and the taxes, and you're right about
Yeah.
that. But here's the thing. That Kansas City, fans of the Chiefs, they're not scarred from losing a team.
Yeah.
And I know we can't lose the team out of state. Doesn't matter. It's easy to say that. Our fans are scarred from that.
The older ones are, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are already threatening that they may leave if they don't get what they want.
Right.
Like, that's already starting.
Yeah.